LinkedIn, building your online
Sorry, Tarik.
developing experience and networking. And so let's go ahead and get started. So if you don't know, LinkedIn is one of the world's largest professional social media platforms. That's essentially, it's made for you to get jobs and promote yourself professionally. And what I like to tell people is if you don't have a LinkedIn, make a LinkedIn immediately and send me a connection. That will be your first connection, because it's so important that you have a LinkedIn, and no one can tell you that it's too early or that you have no reason to make a LinkedIn. You can always make a LinkedIn. You can always start making connections and just getting a feel for the platform. So this isn't too much important, but LinkedIn's a pretty large company. And they have offices all throughout the United States, worldwide. And so it can be a possible place for a job opportunity if you're interested. The vision of LinkedIn is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So again, at its core, LinkedIn is a social media platform to help you get jobs and help promote yourself professionally. And this is a bit of a representation as to how huge LinkedIn is. So you might think, oh, LinkedIn, it's a very niche platform. There aren't a lot of people using it, but there's a lot of members, a lot of companies use LinkedIn, and a lot of companies has LinkedIn as like integral as to their hiring process. So while it might look like something that's foreign to you, you might be used to Facebook or Instagram. If you're into social media, there is no reason you shouldn't be on LinkedIn, because it's huge, lots of opportunity there. And their mission is to connect the world's professionals and make them more productive and successful. So again, just echoing the two ideas I've been saying before, LinkedIn is about helping you get jobs and helping promote yourself professionally. So if you haven't heard of LinkedIn before, now you have like a better idea of what the platform is specifically for. And so for this presentation, we're going to be covering the first 3 bullet points on here: building an online presence, developing experience, and networking. So let's start with building your online presence. So a LinkedIn identity helps establish a dynamic and professional social presence. It's a social media platform specifically for people who want to get jobs, who want to advance professionally. So you can think of it as anyone on there is on there for a chance to either provide an opportunity or help you get connected with someone and help you connect with an opportunity. And so what you build on your LinkedIn is representative of the type of opportunities that you're looking for. That's your LinkedIn identity. So let's talk about how to create an effective profile. I really like this quote: tell people who you are, not just what you've done. So I think there's a statistic somewhere else in the presentation, but one of the key things about LinkedIn is if you're a recruiter and you see someone's LinkedIn profile, it's more often than not that your LinkedIn is the first thing a recruiter sees. They go and check your LinkedIn just to get a feel for who you are, past your initial resume. And so when you're curating your LinkedIn, you want definitely give people a professional feel, what things you've done, what things you've accomplished. But you also want to have your identity and tell people who you are and what sort of things you value and what opportunities you value. Because that's something that a recruiter is going to look for and say, wow, this is a competitive candidate. They have their LinkedIn fully fleshed out, and now I can get more context as to things they've done and what they're looking for. So again, this is the statistic: 93% of recruiters use LinkedIn to vet candidates before an interview. So it's super, super important. If you don't have a LinkedIn, make one now and start building it. Because for future job opportunities, it could be the key to a recruiter looking at your profile and saying, wow, I'm really interested in this candidate. So just an overview of a LinkedIn profile: the best profiles have current information, or well thought out, and are complete. And a key thing to echo is when you make your LinkedIn, you want to treat it like it is your sort of professional version of social media. And in doing that, you want to have it updated. You want to be trying to make connections, and you want to be active. I see a lot of people who make a LinkedIn and they're not active, and then they don't get any opportunities. And they ask me, like, what am I doing wrong? And just making a profile isn't enough. You want to be active, you want to be up to date, you want to use it intentionally. And that's really going to take you pretty far in using your LinkedIn profile. So we're going to get into like some particular parts of what your profile is supposed to represent. So you have your profile top card. This is important because this is sort of the first thing someone sees when they're looking at your profile. They start at the top and scroll to the bottom, and you sort of want it to catch people's eyes. And the biggest thing I personally think is your headline. So you see this person's headline, they're a design author, speaker, and they do product design at Facebook. This is important because you automatically get like a snapshot as to who they are, like what are they doing. You can see this person is public speaker, author, and they work at Facebook. And so when you're making your profile, think about like where you are right now. Are you a student at a certain university? Are you working at a job? Are you seeking opportunities? That's a great way to develop your headline so that the first thing people see is where you are. Like, are you looking for recruiting opportunities? Are you already at a job? Maybe someone's looking for a speaker, and if that's the first thing you see in your headline, that could be a good eye catcher. And so this is actually a very underrated piece of your LinkedIn profile. So be very intentional about your headline. Your profile photo. So as you can see, these profile photos aren't super professional, right? They're just really high quality photos, and you sort of get a feel for like a little bit of their personality. So I wouldn't say that your profile photo needs to be super professional, but make sure it's high quality. Make sure it's a photo that's representative of you, because it matters. Having a good representation of you, because that's also, again, in your sort of top portion of the profile, that's the first thing recruiters are going to see, and things like that. So I'd recommend, if you don't have a photo that you would think that you don't think is a good photo, I'd recommend maybe try and get a headshot, or asking someone, hey, can you help me take like a fancy photo? I know this is weird, but I want to look good for my LinkedIn profile. And putting in that effort, it'll mean so much more than you think. Contact info. This is a very good thing to make sure you have updated. Make sure that if you have any websites, blogs, if you have a YouTube, make sure your email is up to date so people can reach out to you via email. And this goes back to the idea of making sure that your LinkedIn profile is complete, because someone's looking through your profile, they might want any of this information. So make sure you have it there. And again, this is just like a representation of what your contact info could look like. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, you'll sometimes get a notification that tells you to let recruiters know that you're open to job opportunities, and it'll look like this on your profile. And most likely, if you're new to LinkedIn, you're going to get this notification. And so this is something you can do to sort of show up more easily in a recruiter's search results, because you're going to be given higher priority. So this is just something to look out for. If you're looking for a job, LinkedIn has a certain setting for that. So your about page, that's also really important. So on LinkedIn, one of your components of your profile is your about section. And you can think of this as your elevator pitch. If you met someone for the first time and you only had 1 minute, maybe 1 to 3 minutes, what would you want them to know about you? What would gain the most interest and most insight? And that's what you should think about your elevator pitch. You don't want it to be super dense. You don't just want it to be a resume. You want the reader to get a sense for who you are as a person, what you like to do, what you're involved in, and what you'd be interested in. And so highlight strengths, soft, hard skills, and anything that you think is relevant. This is different for everyone. I think of it like this. What do you want people to most know about you? I feel like that question changes for every person. maybe you don't have a lot of professional experience. Maybe you have a lot of volunteer experience. Curate your profile to you and what is most valuable for you. Featured. So there's a featured section, and this is a great way if you've written any articles or made any posts or had people write about you, things like that. You could go to the featured section on your profile or Google exactly where it is if you're not sure, and you can add links to these things. And this will show up as someone scrolling through your profile. This will be one of the big things that people see, and maybe they might be interested in looking at more. So if you have work that you've done, this is a great way to showcase it. You can also control your profile visibility. I think this is important because sometimes I knew people, they didn't realize that they've had their profile in private. And so like recruiters will come to their profile and they don't see anything and they're like, why can't I see anything? You might have your profile on private. And so make sure your profile is on public if you want recruiters to reach out to you if you're looking for job opportunities and want to make connections easier. And this is, you can find this setting in your profile. And again, this is just how you do it. And you can also edit your URL, which people don't take advantage of. So that will make it easier for you to be able to just type in the search bar and find your profile as well. Your experience. So the experience section, this is arguably the most important part of your LinkedIn profile. The way that I think of it is your LinkedIn profile is your living resume. And so while usually when you submit a resume to a recruiter or a company, you only have maybe one page to fit, all of your relevant work experience. And sometimes that just isn't enough. The cool thing about LinkedIn is you can just keep adding stuff. You can add stuff and add stuff and add stuff. It's an online platform, so there's no limit as to how much you can add. And there's no limit to how much you can describe. And so this is a really great opportunity to take advantage of that online medium because, again, LinkedIn is usually the first thing recruiters go to after they receive your resume, if you have one. And if you want them to get more context in the things that you've done, not just on your resume, you can take advantage of this. Please, please take advantage of this. Make sure your experience is up to date. Make sure it's a reflection of your resume, and make sure it has anything that you weren't able to fit onto your resume. And something I get a lot, even with like resume building, is people sometimes don't think they have enough experience when really you do. If you're a college student, you have experience. You may not think you have experience, but you have experience because you're a college student and you're taking courses, and that you're just going to get experience. That's just how it works, even if you don't think you have a lot of work experience. Your experience doesn't just have to be work experience. If you've done volunteering, if you're a captain of a athletic team, if you are a member of a club, these are all relevant experiences to put on your LinkedIn and your resume as well. And with resumes, there's an argument, maybe you want to curate it toward your job. With your LinkedIn, you have more space to just include everything that you've done. You can also add videos and pictures, and you can also keep adding on your experiences to one project or company that you've worked with. And this is really cool, allows you to see progression, and you're really taking advantage of the online medium, adding pictures and links and things like that. So make sure you if you have anything, it's never too much. Just put it on there. It'll help. Education is also an important part. So make sure you mention, this is a section where you can mention degrees, you can mention courses that you've worked with. You can describe it in detail, like whether you're a graduate or you're a student. And it's really just a good place to keep everything that's specifically school related. So different from your experience in that this is mainly related to your educational background, but it's the same idea essentially. LinkedIn also has a spot where you can put licenses and certifications. A lot of people don't know that you can get these on LinkedIn through LinkedIn as well. And these are underrated. People ask if you need certifications. And I usually would say if you have time and you want to do it, there's no reason not to have a certificate. Like, it's not going to hurt you. And so if you have time and you're looking to a certification or an online course just to show you have experience in something, there's no situation where doing that hurts you. And so if you do it, make sure you update your LinkedIn as well. Volunteer experience, they have a specific section for that as well. And so you can specifically list companies you volunteered with, organizations you volunteered with, and describe your experiences, similar to your regular experience section. Skills, this is important. This goes into an important aspect of LinkedIn that isn't touched upon as much, and that's getting people to endorse you. So in LinkedIn, there's a skills and endorsements section where you can list sort of your top skills that maybe you'd want an employer to see. And you can then have people endorse you. And this goes into being active and actively creating connections and asking people, hey, we just worked on a project. I was hoping if you felt this way that you could be an endorsement for any of my skills based on what we've worked on together. And just keeping those connections and making use of those connections and interacting with people is going to help build your profile, your visibility, and the value of your profile. So ask people if they can give you endorsements, if you've worked with them. Make sure you don't want to just have them endorse you for no reason, but if you've worked with them, if they're your colleague, feel free to ask them for an endorsement and make your skills section more valuable. You can also ask people to give you recommendations. So you can ask for professional recommendations from people you've worked with, teachers, your internships, and just ask, hey, do you think you could write a paragraph about me? Or, I was wondering if you could put a recommendation on my LinkedIn profile. And this is something that gets easier as you network more and talk with people more and establish those connections. Accomplishments, there's also a section to list your accomplishments, specific projects, languages you know. And what I like to say is, don't hold back. Just, if you have accomplishments, throw them all on there. It's going to help you with search results. It's going to be valuable for recruiters to see something they like. So if you're questioning whether something valuable to put on there, more than likely you probably want to put it on there. And so this is just something, when you're talking about a complete profile, this also is something you want to fill out. So let's talk about sharing your work. So one of the cool things about LinkedIn is being able to establish your network. And you don't do that by doing nothing. You have to be active and make posts and comment and things like that. And so, it might feel awkward talking about your professional experiences, things that you've done. But, if you have social media, if you have Instagram, Facebook, you've been doing this for a while. Now you're just doing it professionally with the idea of trying to establish more opportunities and connections. So maybe you had a really great class and you want to make a post about it. Maybe you had a really great volunteer experience or professional experience. Or maybe even this LinkedIn session that we're having right now. And you had some great insights that you want to share. You can make a post about it. And someone's going to find it valuable because that's why they're on LinkedIn. They're looking for opportunities, insights, information. It's meant to promote yourself professionally. And so this is one of the best ways to expand your network. Make posts, comment on posts, like posts, ask for feedback. Just be active, an active member of the community. These are just some other ways you can create videos. Something I really like to do is creating long form articles. Whenever I have a professional experience that I think is really valuable, and I don't want to forget the things I've learned, writing an article, publishing an article is great. I think it's great because you don't have to go through a third party or anything like that or get approved. LinkedIn just allows you to upload your own article. So it's quick and easy and has a lot of tools that you can use. So that's a really cool feature that I personally like to use. So how do you get your posts out there? I mean, similar to any other social media platform, if you mention people or companies, That's going to give you more visibility. People are going to know that you're mentioning posts. If you add hashtags, then people who are interested in certain topics are going to see those more often. Make sure you have links, photos, or videos to catch people's attention, and make sure your posts are public. And that's going to be one of the big things that gets other people to see your post and like it and share it as well. So now we're going to talk about developing experience. So we're just going to go this pretty quickly, but these are some things that people don't know LinkedIn has. There's LinkedIn Learning. They have a lot of courses you can use. There's LinkedIn Pro Finder. If you want to do like self-employed, your own work, they like have their own platform for that. Groups. This is a big thing that I think is underrated. If you're looking for specific groups surrounded around design, programming, chemical engineering, just any topic that you're interested in, there's a professional group of people who want to connect with you and want to provide opportunities. So make sure you take advantage of that as well. Hashtags, this is also I think most people know about hashtags, pretty self-explanatory. It helps you find posts, and you can search hashtags and see what people are posting about. So now we're going to talk about networking. So 89% of job seekers use networking as a part of their job search. I would argue that networking is the biggest like part of your career, right? Like the people that you know are the biggest component of finding opportunities. And so usually when people go on LinkedIn with that idea of networking, that they're gonna connect with people, follow up with people, interact with people, they usually get the most benefit. And so having a strong network is important. And this is probably the most daunting part of creating a LinkedIn profile. Initially, it's pretty hard to get connections because you don't have an established profile, you don't have an established presence yet. But what I will say, one of the biggest components of LinkedIn is that network. Because here's the thing, let's say that you're a computer science major like me, and you want to find an internship, and you're on LinkedIn, and you start connecting with recruiters, and you start connecting with other computer science students. And then one computer science student says, I'm grateful for this opportunity with company X, Y, and Z. Now you know that there is someone who's had a good experience with that company. You can reach out to that student. You can ask them, how did they get that opportunity? Who did they talk to? You could reach out to a recruiter. You could ask that recruiter for more information. And the more that you become comfortable with using that network, no matter how small it is, it's going to allow you to get stronger and stronger. So it just comes with practice. You actively establish your network, curating it to what opportunities you want it to reflect. That's the most important part. So as long as you have that in mind, your network's ultimately going to be successful and help you get more opportunities. So just a few tips around networking. Approach networking like you're trying to make new friends. The worst thing you can do with a recruiter is say, can you give me a job? How do I give me a job? How do I get a job? That's not the type of things that people are receptive to. Usually you want to look at someone's profile and see, oh, you work at this company. Can we have a 15-minute call just so I can learn about your experience? Or do you have any tips for the interview process? Things like that, where people are going to be able to give you more valuable information and encourages interaction. Don't think it has to be transactional. Everyone on LinkedIn is there because they want to connect and provide opportunities. So that should be your mindset as well. Make sure you're building relationships and keeping in touch. Again, LinkedIn is going to give you as much as you put in. So make sure that you're putting in the work and you're going to reap the benefits. There are online events and things you can engage with all the time. So just be on the lookout for that. This is a big part of being engaged in your network. You can personalize your connections. And so something that's cool is that if you want to make a new connection with someone you don't know, you can maybe add a little note saying, I'm a computer science student. I'm interested in this company. Your recruiter, can we connect? And this will also make it more likely that they're going to have a better first impression and connect with you. And so this is something that maybe not a lot of people see. So when you go to connect with someone, instead of just connecting with them outright, you can personalize your invitation and add a note. And this is just some connecting message tips. Find common ground. Make sure you're just not asking for an opportunity. Make sure you have an idea of why you're reaching out. When you get to know them, know more about them, thinking for an opportunity, and people are going to be more receptive to that. The last thing we'll cover here is the alumni tool. So if you're a student at a university, one thing that's really underrated is that if you have the university listed on your profile, you can actually see all the alumni. So if you go to the university page, you can click on alumni and you can see a list of all the alumni. And this is going to help you make more targeted connections. Let's say you're looking for an opportunity in a certain field. And if you're alumni, you already have that common ground with someone. So you can reach out to them and say, I'm a student just like you. Can we talk about X, Y, or Z opportunity? And it's also going to help you make more connections, things like that. And so that is pretty much all that I wanted to cover for LinkedIn. So you got, sort of like the crash course on how you can make the most of your LinkedIn profile. And I hope that people take the information and they're successful.
Thank you so much, Tarik. So Tarik is one of our Ambrice scholars at the University of Notre Dame. And what I love about him is that he practices what he preaches in terms of networking, but also sharing his experiences with other people. So when Tarik was able to join the band and be part of our program, the next year when the next class came in, the next cohort, he reached out to them and told them, if this is something you're interested in, contact me. I know how to do this. And he does this a lot. When he takes a great class, he lets everybody know. So, if you're that kind of person, awesome. Do that in your daily life. LinkedIn is a way to do it if you're more introverted. So you are making connections with people and it's not so out loud. It's way more personal, but you're still reaching a wide network. And he said this, and I just want to, reiterate it here. Your connections on LinkedIn create a huge web for your network. So your connections allow you to get connected with their connections and their connections. And Tarik and I have been in on some professional networking opportunities with different companies, and they talk about, if we are connected on LinkedIn and a classmate of yours sees that and asks for a connection, you can do that. We can do that. So don't hesitate to do that also. So connect with your social peers, with your people at your level too, because a lot of times they're going to be the ones that link you to the next level and to the next level. If Tarik's had an experience and you're interested in being connected, he absolutely will help you facilitate that. So really quickly, I mentioned it at the beginning, but some people were coming in at that point. Do any of you have LinkedIn profiles already? Maybe raise your hand if you do, or awesome. I love that, actually, Tarik. I love that so many of these students don't, because great. Well, I actually like that you do too. But this is a way I hope you all feel now that you can jump in on your own and start to build it. And as you connect with people, look at their LinkedIn profiles. Every time I check in on Tarik's, I learn something new. So when you make a connection, take 2 minutes to look at their profile and see, what's there, what are they highlighting? Did they write an article that you can now link on your profile? So you can start building your own through other people. All right, do we have any questions for Tarik? He is amazing, seriously, and there's no embarrassing questions with him.
Yeah, you can literally ask me anything. No question is too dumb. Ask me anything.
You can also ask me. I do our outreach professional development with Bryce.
Well, I can always come up with a lot of questions, so I apologize. I'm late getting here. You know how it goes sometimes, but if you don't mind me asking a few questions, I hope I'm not repeating anything.
No, it's never a problem to repeat. Someone probably missed it.
Okay, well, so I've looked at LinkedIn before, and to me, I mean, to be honest with you, it just looks like Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's sort of like, that's what makes it a lot more approachable than people think. So if we go back in the presentation, so a lot of the way that you interact with LinkedIn is through making posts similar to a Facebook post. But like, again, the idea of LinkedIn is that its mission is to connect you with job opportunities and help you connect with people. And so if you're used to making Facebook, then you're going to be an expert at making LinkedIn posts. And you're just making posts that are more curated towards your professional experience. So any courses that you've taken, any people that you've met that you want to highlight or think, making a post is a great way to get exposure, expand your network, and it's a cool way to interact with it. And so you're right, it's like any other social media platform. And so I think people look at LinkedIn and say, oh, this is a professional network. I don't have a lot of professional experience. This isn't for me. And that's completely wrong. No matter what you do, you can find value in LinkedIn in making a professional network and making posts that help you find opportunities and share your opportunities as well.
So do you think that somebody with a LinkedIn account, like if two people were going for the same job, one person had a LinkedIn account and the other person didn't, they're both like similarly qualified. Do you think the LinkedIn account would make that much of a difference to a hiring manager?
So I can subjectively answer that, but I'm just going to go back and use the statistic here. So to 93% of recruiters, and this is a statistic that was given in the national survey, 93% of recruiters, your LinkedIn is the first thing they see before an interview. So as to whether or not, it's really up to you, right? So if you have two people and both of them don't have a good resume, and not a good resume, a good LinkedIn or a complete LinkedIn, I wouldn't say that it's going to hurt them, but I'm not going to say that it's going to help them. But there's nothing that hurts you about having a good LinkedIn. So I can't definitively say, having a LinkedIn is going to make you better. I can say that having a complete LinkedIn will always help you.
I like to talk about LinkedIn as building your professional credit. So a lot of you all know about like credit scores, maybe a little bit. And in some ways, your social media platforms can be debits on your professional network and your professional credit. So if you have a lot of public information that isn't that professional, that can hurt you. However, a solid LinkedIn profile adds to your professional credit. So the more you invest and the more clean it is too, the better. So I like to think about it like that. So if you have a kind of trashy LinkedIn profile too, that's going to hurt you. But for the most part, LinkedIn is going to be excellent professional capital for your future, especially if they see you're engaged and positive on it. So that's what I like.
Someone put a question in the chat. I can't see.
It was a LinkedIn profile that's actually not complete. It says LinkedIn. It's mine. I love when I copy paste incorrectly. But for those of you that have LinkedIn profiles, feel free to drop them in the chat so that we can connect that way. I also loved when Tarik said curating your LinkedIn profile, because that's kind of a fun way to think of it. Instead of being so stressed out about it, you're just collecting things you like, your own experiences that you're highlighting, but also the posts and things of other people. And yes, there's a reason why it reminds you of Facebook. It's for user interface. So it's because they know that people liked using that. though maybe not so much anymore. I don't think your generation uses Facebook the way mine did. All right, we just have a couple more minutes if you guys have any questions. One thing I love for presenters to get a little bit of immediate feedback. If you heard something today that was really cool, or something you didn't know that now you know and you're going to use on your own LinkedIn profile, I would love it if you would throw it in the chat for Tarik. That's just a really great way to let him know that something he did today resonated with you. And I would also recommend, if you have a profile, to write a short post that talks about either this 2-day conference that we're all taking part in, or just this class that shares what we're doing with other people, because there are first-gen students out there who didn't know about this and maybe would be interested in the future having something like this.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. It's always great to share networking and LinkedIn strategies and stuff.
All right, I'm curious, for some of you I've seen in some of the other, how did the sessions go yesterday? This is just a little off. I can actually take us off.